All right, episode one of Rebuilding a Purposeful Life. So, my name is Ray Sansonetti. I'm a 54-year-old, still married, and father of two. I find myself at a place in my life. I want to let you in a little secret. I I'm actually not filming this first. I filmed some other content prior to this, and I kept telling myself I'll go back and do the first one eventually. So I'm doing the first one now. So it's a little bit past my actual start date of this change in my life. I'll give you the short of it. I found myself 54 years old, separated from my wife, in marriage in real trouble at this point. Not really sure what was going on and needing to make giant changes. And what I was doing was unsustainable, not only in our marriage, also as a father, and also just personally and professionally for myself. So here's the short little background. My wife and I met 20 years ago, 22 years ago now. At the time, I was working at the Chicago Board of Trade as a pit broker, making really good money for a young idiot who had no other real marketable skills at the time. And that's the condition of us when we met. She was going back to school, going to law school, and was not making any money or making very little money, and I was supporting us, and I was happy to do that. I bought our houses, I bought our furniture, I bought our cars, whatever we needed, I did. That came to an end in 2006 when the exchange really went all electronic, and what I was doing was no longer necessary. So I lost my job there. Essentially, it was just phased out. It was my own business, so the business just kind of disintegrated because there was no business to be done. I went to sell commercial real estate. I had some money in the bank. That was heading into 2006 to 2008. I started finally making some money after about a year and a half of trying that. And along the way, burning through the cash that we have, we happened to buy a big house not too long before this, which was a really, really bad idea on my part. We were in a house that would have been fine. To go buy a big house, all of a sudden I'm not making any money. We're burning through savings like it's going out of style, right? And at the same time, 2008 rolls around and the stock market starts tanking, right? So I'm pulling money out of the stock market as it's going down. It was a disaster waiting to happen, and that's exactly what did happen. We burned through everything. The little bit of a pipeline that I had built up in commercial real estate sales disappeared overnight when 2008 hit, and I just panicked. I didn't know what to do or where to go. I felt like I had to get out. I had to get out and try to find something to go earn a living at. I did a piss poor job doing that, and the decision I made was all based on fear. Like I think back about that time with my wife and I wish that I would have handled things different. I wish that I could have gone to her and said, "Hey, listen, I don't know what's going to happen for me for the foreseeable future. This might get really bad and really hairy. But let's buckle down and get through this together as a couple, as a unit, as a team." And I didn't do that, right? I was full of shame that here I am. I'm a man, I'm a husband, I'm a father at this point, and I'm supposed to be able to do this. I'm just supposed to be able to do this. And if one thing falls through, then I have to find another thing, right? And it just wasn't happening. It goes back this, and I'll deal with some of this later, right? I'll address more of this later in further videos. At the time, it was, I always had this idea, even when I was making money, that I probably didn't deserve it. I think I got lucky, right place at the right time. I'm really not this good. And so when it all came crashing down, there was a part of my brain, like a sick part of my brain that, see, told you so. It wasn't going to happen for you. It was never meant to be. Anyway, so that set off years of moving from one place to the next, under earning along the way, making bad decisions. A lot of it was the way I conducted myself in our marriage. I was ashamed to let her know that I wasn't bringing money in, and I would lie about, oh yeah, I'm sure I'm getting a check, on the 15th, and then it would come in and it would be far less than I told her, or not at all, and I'd have to scramble, and more than that, she'd have to scramble, right? I mean, the bills had to get paid, groceries had to get bought. We had a couple of really, really, I mean, more than a couple, really, really thin, dicey month ends that I don't know how she pulled it out. So, again, to dealing with just me here, right? Marriage going bad has two people involved all the time, but I'll try to mostly stay on my side of the street here. I know that I made that extraordinarily difficult. That just built up over time, and my income would go up and down. I find myself in the mortgage industry, do okay for a while, things get slow, sort of this back and forth roller coaster deal. Last couple of years I made some okay money. This last year, with the rates going up, it just tanked. And on this last tank, she just had it. And we were fighting. And even when I was making money, like, there were still issues with us. Like, we weren't, like, a little bit of money in the bank didn't solve our stuff, right? So then when the money disappeared again, really got bad, and we both kind of looked at each other and said, this is unsustainable. We can't keep living, we can't keep doing this. Like, we would just have miserable conversations all the time. There's been no physical intimacy between us for a long, long time, and no real caring for each other, no really expressing that. When she would have a hard day at work, I would want to put my arms around her and care for her. I couldn't seem to do that. She couldn't seem to let me. I sort of wanted something like that from her, but not really, and she wasn't offering it, and it was really messy. We finished each other's sentences all the time, and not in a good way. Like, I already knew what she was going to say, and I knew what she was going to complain about. She knew what I was going to complain about. It just got bad, and so we decided earlier this year that we had to be separated. So I separated. That happened to be around the time I met a guy who. So I've been a sober member of Alcoholics Anonymous for 35 years now. I have recently realized that I have some things that AA doesn't really address, some personality stuff, some defects of character, as we would say in AA, that AA doesn't really address. Some of it having to do with money. So I started going to DA, which is Debtors Anonymous. Debtors Anonymous has to do with unsecured debting. It has to do with under-earning, which is more my thing, right? That's sort of the way that I'm understanding that I sort of rage, is through under-earning. And then also, this also coincided with a willingness, finally, after years and years and years of people telling me, hey, you might want to try an Al-Anon meeting. I've been going to Al-Anon. And the things that I'm learning there about me and my personality and my stuff, really, really appropriate for Al-Anon, right? So a big part of what I deal with is codependency. So that's a big problem for me. It has stifled, I mean, it has smothered our marriage in a lot of ways. So I'll get into much more of that later in further episodes. But that's a condition that I find myself in a few months ago. I'm financially broke. I'm emotionally broke. I'm in my intimately broke, mentally broke, and separated from my wife, and spending the weekdays away from my kids. We have a good arrangement worked out where I spend the weekdays at a different place. And then I come back on the weekends and get to hang out with my kids, and then she leaves the house at that time. So we're doing everything we can to make things good for the kids and to sort of work our stuff out in the best way that we can. She's trying to get herself better. I'm trying to get myself better. In this process, like I said, I've opened myself up to work in Debtors Anonymous and Al-Anon, and really, I've been on this kick of self-improvement because I don't know what else to do. I don't know what else to do. All I can do is make me a better person. I don't know if that means we're going to get back together. I don't know if it means we're not. I need to be okay either way. No matter what happens, I need to be a father to those kids in a meaningful way. I'll admit, I mean, I have struggled with thoughts of, ideas of, glamorizing suicide. Like maybe that's a friend of mine says, we start doing the math, right? Like how much am I insured for on life insurance? That's a pretty big number. Does that pay for their colleges? Does that pay for, that pay off the mortgage on the house? Does that put my family in a better place? Am I more useful dead than alive? And that has been a real thought in my head for a while, and it's sad to say, but I've been living with that and kind of suppressing it. And thank God I come back to, I don't want to do that to my kids. But I also, I'm not dumb enough to think like just that thought is going to keep everybody safe, right? There are people that do that and they have kids and they know how much it's going to hurt, and they just I'm assuming they feel like it's the only option they have. I'm trying hard not to end up in that place where it's the only option I have. So all of that leads me to this bottom, right? This emotional, spiritual, physical bottom. Let me deal with the physical, right? In the middle of COVID, I weighed in at the most I ever have weighed in. I'm 5'9". Used to say I'm 5'10". As my kids got older and my one son was, we measured him and he was 5'10". He was clearly an inch taller than me, so we had to readjust what I was telling everybody. I'm actually 5'9". So I'm 5'9", and in the middle of COVID, I weighed in at 229. That was a weigh-in on a scale, meaning, depending on the day, it could have been much more than that. 5 or 6 pounds, a fluctuation is, as I'm understanding now, can happen all the time. So I was at least 229 at my biggest weigh-in. That is in no way good, safe, mildly attractive. It's just fat for somebody who's 5'9", right? Oh, I'm a big boned, or I've worked out a lot. Fat, just fat, and I knew it. I would see myself in the mirror. I would catch a glimpse of myself. I would almost never want to be the subject of a picture because no pictures would look good. It didn't matter what I was wearing. I could put on sport coats and overcoats and all. I could cover up as much as possible. My fatness it's bleh. Right, so that was the worst it was. My wife and I, at the time, we started doing Noom, which was great. I think I lost 15 pounds. I went from 229 down to 215, which was fantastic. I just got off it. It kind of got a lot to keep track of, and I moved up to like 220. So stayed around 220 for a long time. Felt better that it wasn't 230, but still knowing that, I'm really 220 on 5'9", is still fat. And I didn't feel good. I didn't feel good in my body, right? So the physical, on top of all the other stuff that's going on, it just beat me up, right? It's just all of it is going to make me feel bad. And so I knew that had to change as well. So all of that coincided with, it all kind of came together at the same time, which is being at certainly the worst place that I have felt in a long, long time. But then being willing, like that has been a catalyst to take some actions I just didn't want to take, was not open to, didn't see the benefit of, whatever, right? But it led me to that place where I was willing to do something different. And so now I've been doing Alcoholics Anonymous, Debtors Anonymous, Al-Anon. I'm going to the gym almost every single day. I am very conscious of what I eat, and I have a plan. It's not some crazy diet. I'm just like it's some pretty simple stuff, and I'll address that later. But it's more of a sustainable model that I can just keep doing. There's no special anything for it. I am changing habits, which has been extraordinarily difficult. I got in some very lazy life habits. I would wake up in the morning, I would immediately watch TV for 2 hours and just like zone out and then expect that I'm going to take that and go into some sort of sales job where I'm supposed to be up and paying attention. And it was bad, right? I'm putting bad stuff in my brain all the time. and it bogged me down. It's like I got up and I decided, I'm going to walk through the quicksand to get to where I need to go, rather than walking around and taking the brick path that's already paved. So that's what I was doing. So I've been really trying to change those habits and do something different. I've learned some really important lessons along this very short journey so far. Knew them, I sort of knew them intellectually. I'm experiencing them now for the first time, maybe in a long, long time. Lessons about habits, lessons about effort, lessons about honesty, lessons about courage that I want to show my kids, right? And I don't know who's going to watch this. I'm making these videos ultimately with the hope that my kids come across them at some point, maybe years from now, maybe when they need some inspiration, or they have a desire to know more about me. Maybe this is after I'm gone, and they get to look back at this and see some of this, what I went through. I am trying to show this to them, this meaning the changes going on in my life. I'm trying to show this to them as much as I can without being preachy, but just trying to be an example. I hope that they see it. I hope that it makes a difference for them. I hope that it helps them. I feel like maybe I didn't really have that with my dad, that he didn't really show me that stuff. So, I'm doing the best with what I have, and I'm trying to learn along the way and make adjustments as I learn more, and be able to bring that to my kids. I also realize that whatever I do, their paths are their paths, right? I am not ever going to be able to stand in the way of them in heartache or struggle or pain or anything else. That's part of their life, and it's part of their journey, and just like it's part of mine. I need to be a better example to them. I need to be more useful to them. And so that's what I'm trying to do. All of this is, again, this came out of an Al-Anon book or a reading. I can't remember if it was a daily reading, and I'll talk more about the daily readings later. But it was the line was something to the effect of, the best I can possibly do, the way that I can help the world the most, is to be a better me. If I'm a better me, then I just bring something to the table in a better way everywhere I go. I improve every situation I'm in if I'm a better me. I can't be a lesser me and hope that I'm going to overcome that by doing something nice for you. And I think that's what I did for a long time. And I wish it didn't take me 54 years to get to this point. But at the end of the day, it doesn't matter. Here's where I am, and the choice is mine. What do I do with it now? So I have, aside from the 12-step programs that I work on diligently, I do a lot of nourishing the soul kind of stuff. I do a lot of looking for inspiration in other places, of learning from other people, and I will talk about those people and give credit where credit is due. A ton of it. I've been listening to the Joe Rogan podcast for a while, and I don't know who I thought he was, but I've been just inspired on a regular basis by the things he talks about. And he does. I know that I saw a video of him talking about this, which is this idea that, we have this thought in our head. I should have had it figured out by now. I should have, I wasted time. This should have been something. And he says, get rid of that bullshit. It just doesn't matter. We all have today. We've got the same 24 hours today as everybody else. What am I going to do with it today to make myself a better person, just a little bit better tomorrow? And that's all I have to worry about. When this happened, doesn't matter. If it happened 10 years ago, the truth is I didn't have the motivation, and I didn't have the willingness at that time. I have it now. And I don't know where this takes me, but I'm having a pretty good time so far. Yeah, it's been a pretty good journey. Some of the things that I'm finding out about myself are they're like knock your socks off kind of things. Some of them are really, really like, let's call it elementary, and things that most, probably 14-year-olds should know. Um, I'm 40 years behind. What do you want me to do? Doing the best I can. I look forward to sharing this with whoever follows along. If anybody can learn anything from my experience, then great. If you can find any inspiration in what I'm doing, then great. Ray and Renzo, if you guys are watching this someday, just know that that my whole heart loves you. Everything that I am loves you too, and wants the best for you guys. It wants you to just want you guys to have good lives. And that doesn't mean pain-free and problem-free. It means satisfying and fulfilling lives and purposeful lives. So I'm finding purpose in my life. My purpose is to improve me and be a better example, particularly to my kids, so that they can learn from me and I can have something to pass on to them. So I am repurposing my life. And I am having, for the last few months, pretty good time doing it. I like the changes that are happening, and I'll fill you in along the way. Peace out.